The Nationals finish off this MLB season with a bang, downing the Astros in Game 7. Speaking of unexpected wins, the Big 12 crazy last week, every underdog winning. And the MLB, it has its fair share of going crazy. Well, the NBA does too. We talk all the fights from the opening week. This is the 1-0 Sports Show.
Texas finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand, although Tom Herman did say they were 1-0 10 times last season.
Feinbaum, I'll give him like half a point.
Dude, you like okay. Feinbaum way too much.
Yeah, all right. I'm like I'm the Feinbaum of the show.
By the way, that looks Ohio State. Is that an omen? Give me that Longhorn hat.
Oh man!
Hook him, baby.
All right, he's pulling the Corso. Welcome into the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm Robert Trevino, joined alongside Thomas Fitch. Thanks for joining us on your Friday morning.
Well, you know, before we do anything else, we got to talk Nationals World Series.
Yes, we do, of course.
And a couple weeks ago, Daniel Shee predicted it. We said he was crazy. Roll the tape.
I'm going to go. I mean, dark horse, right? You can't choose the Dodgers, you can't choose the Astros, you can't choose the Yankees. Dude, the Natties, man. Dude.
Get out of here.
Nationals, you said they never won anything. You said this other person, they never won anything. They never won anything, Daniel. They have never won anything.
And they're a Washington team. Washington teams don't win in the playoffs.
The kick in, here it comes. Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in it now at 11:50 Eastern Time. Remember where you are.
Is just making the absolute wrong picks.
Well, I thought, you know, thinking back, I knew I got the pick wrong. I thought I told him, oh, well, the Nationals probably won't win, but I straight up told him nobody from Washington wins. So, exposed there.
Yeah.
Let's get to how we usually start.
Yeah.
Who's hot, who's not, Thomas?
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough MLB.
That's enough of me getting exposed.
Enough MLB. Enough MLB until well, next October, probably. We'll see you back in October, MLB. All right, my who's hot. Yeah, Daniel, she won't like that.
No.
My who's hot. Big 12 underdogs. This week, every single solitary underdog in the Big 12 got the win. Baylor was fortunate to be on a bye because they're still undefeated. But when you look at the games, Oklahoma State goes into Ames and beats Iowa State. Then Kansas State. I mean, the biggest upset probably of the season, quite possibly so far. Kansas State at home beats Oklahoma. Then TCU beats Texas in Fort Worth. And then finally, I mean, you get the Kansas game, which, first of all, Kansas, a much better Kansas team than a lot of people, I think, have expected or at least were expecting coming into the game. But then you look at this, Liam Jones, who struggled with kicking, getting kicks blocked, has the kick blocked to send the game into overtime. Tech recovers but pitches it to a Kansas guy, and Liam Jones doesn't miss the second attempt. You got to feel good for the guy after he has, you know, multiple kicks blocked against Texas, misses another field goal against Texas, and then has a potential game winner blocked and gets another chance, and he finally puts it through. You got to feel good for the guy.
Yeah, you got to feel good. Big 12, I mean, crazy conference. We're going to talk to Kalen Jones in a moment about that, but you can't predict that kind of stuff.
You
can't.
All right, so my who's not, Golden State Warriors. It's been a while. I think it's been a while since they've been on people's list as who's not hot, but not a good start. They're 1-3 on the season. They got routed by the Clippers in week 1. Or game 1, sorry, I forget this isn't NFL. But they get routed by the Clippers. They lose to the Suns, the Phoenix Suns. Not only do they lose to the Phoenix Suns, but they lose. Steph Curry, you can see right here, falls on his hand, broken hand. I'm not sure. I don't think they've released how long they expect him out for, but at least a little while. They're down to Draymond. You know, you look at the starting roster from last year. Draymond Green's the only player who started last year who's still starting on their roster right now.
Well, you know they were going to lose win shares when they lost all of those players, but they had to trade Iguodala, which I feel was a bigger loss to their heart and soul than even Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Because they survived without Kevin Durant before he came on
Right.
the team. But when Iguodala left, you knew they were going to lose wins. Still, you never expected the Warriors to be this bad.
Yeah. All right, Robert, who's hot for you?
Who's hot for me is the NCAA, and
Big
it's
time.
not for a reason that you would normally think. You would normally expect me to sit here. I think like a lot of people have been writing
Right.
that the NCAA is making a great decision. They're paying players. I think, quite frankly, they've just gotten people off of their back.
Oh, yeah.
With their decision,
I'm right with you.
people are saying, and now we're getting the NCAA football video game back. We're going to, everybody's getting paid. They're going to car dealerships. That's not how this is going to work. The report that they released, the vote that occurred, was to set into motion the, I guess, maybe a process for setting the official rules. So it's a beginning of a potential solution, which is not a solution in and of itself. The NCAA is hot right now, but just because people are going to leave it alone.
Right. Well, and I think the specific wording, at least that I saw on like some alerts, was that they will begin like the vote was so they could begin exploring options. And I tweeted this when I saw that. I said, you know, when I was in high school, I would ask my mom, "Hey, can I have a raise in my allowance?" And she'd go, "Your father and I will explore those options." Did I ever get a raise? No.
No,
No.
you don't. Exploring options.
Exploring options means we might consider it, and you're exactly right. It takes all the pressure off their backs because for once they did something unanimous that people agree with. Is it going to result in change? Maybe in 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
But do not be expecting NCAA football for Christmas this year or next year or probably the year after that.
Which is good. I mean, the microtransactions that EA Sports has put in are pretty crazy. Who's not? Speaking of crazy things. Baker Mayfield, the man went off this week in the NFL being asked a question by a reporter that he did not like. To be fair, when you go back and watch the tape, it was a weird question from a reporter that I think in Cleveland lore is kind of not very highly regarded.
Right.
And he's known for giving questions like that. But Baker Mayfield, I feel, was kind of out of line with the way that he walked off and was very frustrated. But I can understand that. When he went on Twitter an hour later and said that it was his competitive spirit, that he should not be blamed because it's this fire within him. I agree there's a fire within him that's put him from a walk-on at Texas Tech to the #1 overall pick.
Right.
I agree with that. But when he's doing what he did, I think that's a line too far. I think he crossed the line on that one.
I'm right there with you. All right. New segment called You Mad Bro?
Let's see who's mad, bro.
You Mad Bro goes to none other than Davey Martinez, skipper for the World Series champs, Washington Nationals. This was in Game 6 after a controversial call. And you see Martinez here has to be held back by 2 coaches. And then watch this. A good little, he gets ejected and puts on good little spin move, splits the defenders.
Man. That's a great move from him. And he had a right to be angry.
Yeah.
And I think he was the first skipper to be thrown out in a while.
In a long time.
Since 2009,
It's been a long time. It's what baseball needs.
It's what baseball needs, and you love to have that fire in the World Series. I feel managers kind of play it too safe because it's the very important games, and I get you need to be out there. But that call was especially egregious because they went to review it, and they still upheld the call.
Well, I think a lot of things, because that happened during the break after Washington had hit a 2-run home run, and it cost them. It would have been a 3-run home run if they called the runner safe. But I think for Martinez, what you're doing at that point is you're fighting for your team. You're saying, I have your backs, and you know, the umps aren't going to change the call. Yeah. Nothing's going to result from that. He knew going into that he was going to get ejected. At that point, he's just trying to rally his team and saying, I have your backs.
Yeah, and it worked out for him. They won that game, and
won
they
game
won the
6,
series.
won game 7.
He should have got a +1 if he had said something like "ball don't lie" after the homer there. Let's get into trash talkers.
Trash talkers of the week. This could also almost work as You Mad Bro.
Oh, this is another You Mad Bro. So this week, Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns, they got into it on the court, getting into a big fisticuffs fight. Karl Anthony Towns was eventually, I guess, restrained by Ben Simmons.
If you want to call it restraining.
Restraining a peacemaker that makes you tap out. I'm not sure about that. You could maybe call Conor McGregor a peacemaker then because he taps out. But afterwards, they had some words on Twitter.
Joel Embiid, I'm telling you what, he was feeling this fight. But yeah, they did have some words on social media. Had to blur out some stuff, but we'll let you read the tweets. Essentially, Joel Embiid thinks he's in the right.
Yeah, well, Towns' mom was caught on the television camera trying to maybe throw some shade at Joel Embiid as he's walking off, and he says, "I have some serious real estate within not only your head but your family's head." And
then you have Karl Anthony Towns responding with the pic of Embiid crying, and then Embiid responding in the comments section.
And well, Embiid with a great point there, saying that photo's when I lost in the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
You've never been to the second round of the playoffs. Great point from Embiid here. I think he's a top 5 troll of all time in NBA history. He goes down with the greats.
I wouldn't say an NBA. I think it's a little too soon. I think he's on the right
He's on the
path.
come up. I think he's up there with Reggie Miller.
But you got to. Here's what Charles Barkley. I think he said it. He was called it a cuddle fest or something like that. He did say there's no punches thrown.
That's true, but
now was it? I thought it was. You watched those guys like that was a fight. Like they if no one broke that up, like somebody was they were going until like someone like actually like tapped out. So as far as that's concerned, like it was a real fight. I think for the sake of the NBA, I'm telling you what, if I'm Adam Silver, you might issue a statement like we can know if I'm Adam Silver, you're promoting that.
That was exciting. Everybody was.
Oh, it blew up Twitter.
It was
it's this league.
Hashtag this league. You had to watch it.
All right, final segment. Delete your Twitter.
Speaking of Twitter.
Speaking of Twitter, this goes for sorry Longhorn fans who are watching this. This goes for many Longhorn fans on Saturday who were more than just unhappy with Texas's loss. Maybe a little overreaction.
I think a lot, calling for the firing.
And personally,
Orlando.
as someone who's never, ever overreacted to anything in sports,
Sure about that?
I'm well above those fans.
Of course. I've never overreacted. I definitely don't share some of the opinions that some of the Longhorn fans were saying for a little bit. But I think the key is that Twitter, it kind of gives you a medium for everybody to remember exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of these fans are getting kind of crazy.
Yeah, they're taking it a little too far. When you're calling for heads to roll, when you have a team that's this banged up, and I think it just goes back to the thing that people want Texas to be the 05 team, the 09 team every year, and that's just not going to happen at this point. Texas isn't Alabama; they aren't Clemson, and it takes time. It took Nick Saban a number of years to get to that point. It took Dabo Swinney a number of years to get to that point at Clemson. Yeah. This isn't an overnight thing, and you have to #trust the process.
You do. Connect all the dots here.
Connect all the dots. And fans need to be patient because in this day and age in college football, everybody rushes to, if there's no immediacy of wins, we're going to fire you. And I tell you what, if that was the case with Auburn when fans were calling for Gus Malzahn to be gone, I mean, who do you think they would have? And instead they have Gus Malzahn, who is leading them just about the last couple years, top 10 every season. So Texas fans, calm down. We'll wait after Kansas State. I think after Kansas State, when the team's healthy, we can actually make some real reactions to the season.
I think so. I think we'll find out all about this Texas team on Kansas State.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, athletic writer Kalen Jones, who covers the Longhorns, he's going to join us. We're going to be looking at what Texas has done so far and what they can do coming off the bye week to start up again and try to make a run at the Big 12 championship.
Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm here with Thomas, and we're joined alongside Kalen Jones, the athletic writer for the Texas Longhorns. Kalen, thank you for joining us this morning.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, so you are the beat writer for the Texas Longhorns for The Athletic. And Robert and I, obviously big fans of your work, big fans of The Athletic work. But for fans who maybe aren't super familiar with The Athletic, why should they be subscribing and reading y'all's content?
Well, we definitely offer, in my opinion, we offer some of the best sports journalism, if not the best sports journalism in the entire world. I mean, not just for me. I look at the colleagues or people I get to call colleagues, just within the college football vertical alone. Stuart Mandel, Bruce Feldman, Andy Staples, Nicole Auerbach. There's just a plethora of, top, national writers. And then just at the local level, too, what you get is really in-depth coverage that, focuses on the behind the scenes and the human being aspect, more, painting a picture about and being providing more perspective on things as opposed to daily minutia, just writing, hey, here's an injury report or, here's the final score of a game, more so the impact and how, it affects things moving forward. So if you're looking for perspective journalism that's really, enjoyable to read too, I definitely would advise anyone out there to subscribe to The Athletic.
Yeah, I'm always impressed with the depth of reporting and everything that goes into the stories. All right, so this is your first year covering Texas. What have you seen so far in year 3 under Tom Herman?
It's been interesting. Coming into the year, everyone around UT, or at least I'll say this, outside of UT, there were the raised expectations that the Longhorns were back, and obviously when they win the Sugar Bowl and Sam Ehlinger proclaims it, there's going to be some type of pressure to live up to that. But at the same time, I think they've performed relatively to what there's definitely a little bit of a disappointment because they haven't won as many games as they probably like. But if they were 6-2 right now, it'd only be a 1-game difference from that. And in the games that they lost before the TCU matchup against LSU and Oklahoma, they looked very competitive, and against LSU they looked the part of a top 15 football team at the very least. But for me, they're not too far away from what I expected. This was a team that was replacing 8 defensive starters, and then you look at the talent level that they have on that side of the ball in terms of the scheme that Todd Orlando's implementing. They don't really have the players to really fully execute that scheme, in my opinion. And then you just add all the injuries that they've had defensively, and not only defensively but offensively. Don't get me wrong, Colin Johnson and Devin Duvernay are outstanding players, but you need a difference maker out on the field. And Sam Ehlinger's one, but they don't really have a pure playmaker outside of Ehlinger and Roschon Johnson. You look at the running back situation in general. Just the fact that at a program like Texas, the number 2 running back on their roster right now is a true freshman quarterback convert. Like that's a bizarre scenario, and for it to happen at UT just kind of really speaks volumes about where the state of the program is. Tom Herman inherited a program that was in turmoil. So for him to have raised the expectations the way he did last year, they went 7-2 or 7-3 in 1-score games, I believe, last year, which kind of speaks to the type of luck they had. Not to say they didn't play well, but this season they just haven't had the tables turn, in their favor as often. And I think overall, just in terms of the expectations, I think that fans kind of need to simmer down and just understand that there's a process to building back towards being a national contender. It's not going to just happen overnight for UT, even though it's possible with the talent that they potentially recruit. But it's still a much more daunting process when you consider where they were at, just a few seasons ago.
Yeah, Phil Steele, I know, likes to say whenever teams have great records in 1-score games, the next year they typically regress because they're kind of winning those they're kind of getting those lucky games pretty much at the end. To go more broad with the Big 12, what are your thoughts on this crazy last week, the crazy results in the Big 12, and how would you rank the Big 12 compared to other conferences right now? Would it be top heavy, or is it a pretty good conference?
I've always thought that the Big 12 was pretty good. It's not too far away from the SEC. If not, I think it might be better than the ACC. I really don't. I try to stay away from the conference because I know how people get about it. But that being said, you look at the top teams within the Big 12. When you talk about Baylor, when you talk about Oklahoma, and then Iowa State, Texas, Kansas State, all within that same realm of conversation, those are pretty good teams. I wouldn't say that's necessarily. Obviously, most private conferences are going to be top heavy just because you're going to produce at least 1 or 2 elite teams. In this season, it looks like Baylor could be on the verge of being that team for this year. Maybe not, who knows whether that's true moving forward, but at the very least this year, the Big 12 has been extremely fun. And we still have 4 weeks left. The sprint to the finish line is going to be extremely interesting to watch because Oklahoma losing at Kansas State last week really opens up the door potentially if they slip again. Now you have Kansas State again, Iowa State, Texas, some of the other teams that are right back in the thick of things, potentially. And I think that's still maybe not necessarily wide open. Again, like Texas doesn't control its own destiny. So it's not like it's, completely, plausible that they end up getting back to the Big 12 championship, but it's still in play. And the fact that that remains so through this point in the season, I mean, you can be upset about how it looks, but at the same time, it's still a possibility. So it's definitely a fascinating conference to watch for sure.
Let's talk about Sam for a second here. And I saw your article about kind of how his play has just kind of looked different the last 4 games. Tell us a little bit more about that and kind of your analysis of him and kind of how it's almost looked like we've gotten 2 different Sams this season.
Yeah, no. So at the beginning of the year, I mean, you saw Sam Ellinger. He definitely took tremendous strides, as a passer, and just his execution from the pocket, his comprehension of X's and O's. It's very apparent, and I think that over the past few weeks, teams have done a better job of just game planning against Texas and taking away a lot of his first reads, and it's forced him to work through progressions a little bit more quickly than probably what he's accustomed to, and that's okay. But at the same time, the results just haven't been there, especially last week against TCU. The thing that I highlighted with his interceptions was that, not all of them have been on him. A lot of it seems to stem from miscommunication or just, I mean, when you look at the type of routes that some of the receivers are running, they don't have the proper depth. So, I mean, it's not all on him. There's definitely like a couple where he's made bad decisions. Like the one that stands out to me the most is the Kansas one, where he throws it inside Texas zone 20 and he's throwing it right to a linebacker that he didn't see. But at the same time, I mean, he's definitely, I would say, like, if you were going to grade out his play over the past 4 weeks, it's definitely, fallen off a little bit. And I think it's just accumulation of factors. I mean, you look at the fact that receivers haven't done a great job of getting separation against man coverage. There's definitely been more drops than I think anyone thought were going to occur at this point in the year. You look at the offensive line, hasn't been extremely consistent. It's been solid in most of the outings, but hasn't been, routinely there. And they actually have a Big 12 worst, 23 sacks this year. And then you look at Ellinger himself. He's just, gotten into his own way at times. Sometimes he forces things, or sometimes he just doesn't pull the trigger. And so, the play calling also has something to do with that as well, because otherwise they'd be putting him in a position where he's not thinking too much or has his first read available and whatnot. So it's definitely been a culmination of things. That's not to say Sam Ellinger, still isn't one of the top quarterbacks in the entire nation, which I firmly believe he is. It's just that he hasn't played at that level over the past couple weeks, and it's extremely hurt Texas.
Yeah, so normally, Kalen, we'd have you make a prediction about the game. But since this week Texas is off, kind of how do you think the rest of the Big 12 season will shake off? And more specifically, what is the ceiling for Texas right now? How do you expect them to finish? And is Baylor for real? Could they really win the Big 12 championship?
Baylor's definitely for real. I think that they have a shot at winning the Big 12 title just because you consider not just their offense. I mean, Charlie Brewer, obviously outstanding. Denzel Mims, a great difference maker at receiver. But their defense ranks 25th in SP+. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that's a metric that ESPN's Bill Connolly forged a few years ago, but they rank within the top 25 defensively, in addition to having a high-powered offense. So they're definitely for real. As for Texas, over the last couple games, I think their ceiling is 3-1. It's going to be extremely tough to come away, winning out. One, they'd have to get healthy, and secondly, you'd have to go on the road and beat both Iowa State and Baylor, and I just find that like an extremely daunting task. I think that you get one of two, if you're lucky. And really, when you look at this Kansas State game, I mean, that's going to be a tricky matchup too. So realistically, I think they're going to split. I think they go 2-2, and they end up going 7-5 for the season. But moving forward, I think the best case scenario could be 8-4. And again, like they could go 3-1 over this final stretch. I think they have the talent to do so. But again, I think they're going to need a lot of help in terms of, getting healthy for one, and they need some more consistency when you talk about the offense and, both defense, but consistency of the team overall, I guess.
Okay, so looking, maybe it's too soon to look to next year, but you look at next year, you're going to have a senior Sam Ellinger. You're going to hopefully have more development from Herman, more development from his coaching staff. Do you think that there is enough talent on the Texas roster that maybe with a better and maybe more specifically a healthier start, this is a Texas team that could be competing for a college football playoff bid next year?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be, kind of where they were this year, you know what I mean? Like on the cusp so to speak, especially because defensively, this is a team. If defensively, I think that's the biggest thing. If that unit shows any type of improvement over the last couple of weeks, and that's a really good sign moving forward into next year, because then you have guys familiar. Another year under the system, where Todd Orlando had this defense playing at a much higher level not too long ago, even though statistically some of the numbers aren't too dissimilar to what you've seen this year. That being said, offensively, it's going to be a toss-up to me, because from what I've seen, Ellinger really has a great rapper with Devin Duvernay and Colin Johnson. Trust those guys a lot. Brennan Eagles, he's been hot and cold. Malcolm Epps also hot and cold. Jake Smith, I know fans love him because he's fast and he scores a couple touchdowns, but he's still developing too, and he's definitely had a lot of miscues. So it's going to be on, whether or not they have talent developed around Ellinger and whether he's on the same page with those guys moving forward. But there's going to have to be a lot of work that goes in between establishing that rapport between this point and come next year. So I still think that there's definitely going to be high expectations when you have a guy like Sam Ellinger around, just because of what he's fostered and what he's brought to the program since he's arrived. But that being said, I do think that they will, kind of again be on a fringe cusp. Are they a national contender or not? Type of realm, so to speak, next year.
All right, Kalen, well, thanks for joining us. I actually just got an athletic notification on my phone. Be sure to subscribe. If you do the student subscription, you actually get incredible journalism for less than a cup of coffee per month. So it's definitely affordable. Thank you for joining us once again. It was awesome talking Texas football with you.
Yeah, when we return, Turner Barnes going to join the show as we're going to be breaking down the start of the NBA season so far. Stick around. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Still Thomas Fitch, still Robert Trevino. Turner Barnes is going to be joining us in just a second. But before we get there, NBA season, as we know, we've seen the fights well underway. So let's take you through the beginning and our own edition of the fastest 4 minutes.
Fastest 2 minutes, baby. Let's start the NBA season with a bang. Where else but in LA? LA Lakers versus the Clippers. First game, Kawhi Leonard says, hey, 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 on Lance Stevenson. Hits him with the dribble drive. Actually, not the dribble drive, but hits a three regardless. But LeBron coming back and saying, you are uninformed.
He's still in the league?
He's still in the league. 17th year. With the big steal, the Clippers coming through here. Montrezl Harrell says, I'm going to win that game for you. And the big three right here off of the pick and roll. Lou Williams finding Harrell. Big three, and the Clippers win 112-102, sending LeBron home on Taco Tuesday.
We head to Memphis, where the Grizzlies trying to get into a good start in the first game of the Ja Morant era. But it wouldn't just be Ja Morant getting things started in this game, as the Grizzlies trying to take the city of grit and grind and turn it into the city of dunking and layups.
Ja Morant. Dave Chappelle once said, where is Ja? Well, he's here today. And we go to the fourth quarter.
The Memphis Grizzlies grit and grind and rock and roll their way and back into this game.
Kyrie trying to get his shot off. Ja on him. He's going to block him.
Hey, Rob, you might say that shot attempt came up flat.
A little bit. I think Kyrie may have his conspiracies debunked on that one. We go to OT. Kyrie is going to hit the pick and roll to Jared Allen.
The Longhorn. Then Kyrie again driving in. He makes the shot. But this one, good defense there by the grit and grind Grizzlies.
The Nets up one. Archidiakono to Jenkins. Big three, and the Grizzlies win. And we head out to LA.
Back to
again. Back to LA. My home. And LA with the big slam. Anthony Davis, the brow, finally getting his LA paycheck. And LeBron says hello to the NBA right there. But we get the Taco Tuesday chants coming out. Wop, wop, Taco Tuesday. And LeBron and the Lakers roll on that game.
In Utah, where Donovan Mitchell is singing high as the Rockies after the ball finds his, well,
you
know where it found.
Toby from The Office found that hilarious. But Donovan Mitchell, Spider Mitchell, came home empty. Speaking of people having a great week, Joel Embiid says, "Whoop!" all over him. And the Hawks are the only thing that can fly. I took that line from you, Thomas. But Joel Embiid also getting into fisticuffs here with Karl Anthony Towns.
Is this a cat fight, Rob?
I think this is a cat fight, Thomas. I agree. And they both go to the floor. We're going to see who's going to take this one here. But a big win. You know Philadelphia people, they love to fight. Shout out to Rocky. Oh,
tell you what, Rob, couldn't tell if that was Tony Romo or Ben Simmons by the way he was choking.
Oh, and he taps out. You got Ben Simmons, he taps out. Joel Embiid. I think the decision coming from the refs. 1-0. Joel Embiid begins his career as a Philadelphia fighter. Unfortunately, this is basketball, so he was ejected. But he mentally and morally defeats Karl Anthony Towns.
76ers still undefeated.
Kyrie getting some conspiracies going back in Brooklyn. We're back here against the Timberwolves. Hits a big three. But Andrew Wiggins coming through with some big science on that play right there.
He's still in the league?
He is also still in the league. Kyrie Irving going to try one of the most insane game winners that you'll ever see. Trying that big move, but it doesn't go down. And
that's flat.
That's
We're
the
back.
NBA in 2 minutes.
And we now welcome you into the 1-0 Sports Locker Room.
Very nice.
All right, so joining us now, Turner Barnes.
Yeah.
Ready to do a little buy-sell for the NBA.
Love this touch
I
screen.
think I'm literally sweating in the locker room after that. That was
my voice is gonna be dead after that. All right, so you know how it works. You buy or you sell. We're starting off with the 76ers off to a good start. We've seen plenty of highlights, but are you buying them so far this season?
All right, I'm gonna go with sell.
Wow,
So if we're
selling them.
if we're going, I can't see we're selling.
You're selling, yeah, we're selling. We're selling.
Right. So I'm gonna break down a little bit. So I'm selling them as a finals contender. So if you're saying, oh, I'm not saying the 76ers aren't gonna make the playoffs, but this team doesn't have the depth to win the championship, or if you ask me, maybe even make it to the conference finals this year. So I'm gonna sell them as a finals contender.
Not so fast, Mike. I'm going to buy the 76ers. Give me those guys. I think they do have the depth. I think these guys are going to make some roster moves. I also love Joel Embiid. What I've seen from him, not only on Twitter and fighting Karl Anthony Towns, I think he really has his team behind him, and I think he's the leader that Philadelphia's needed. He is the process.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I think the fact we're keeping up the buy. We're keeping up the buy. We're keeping the buy up. Yeah. And I think for me, I think they had a lot of depth last year. They lose Jimmy Butler, but I honestly think that's for the best. Jimmy Butler causes a lot of locker room problems. I think as long as Joel Embiid can use his fire and his passion to motivate the team, I think the Sixers are in a good position to make a run in the East.
I think so too.
All right, the next team, Toronto Raptors, no longer have Kawhi. It's just Kyle Lowry up there in the North, in the 6. What are you feeling?
You know, I think based on expectations, I'm buying them. I'm buying the Raptors. I think a lot of people thought this team would not be anything without Kawhi Leonard. But you got OG Anunoby back.
Yep.
That guy is amazing.
Good pronunciation.
Good, yeah,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you. And so I think this team is, if you can buy the expectations of them making it to the second round, maybe even the conference finals, who knows? In a weak Eastern Conference, you got to buy the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy them too. I like Pascal Siakam. He's looked great. I think he could come around as maybe a dark horse MVP contender. We're getting a little crazy there. But Pascal Siakam, he has what it takes in the NBA. The Raptors, you said expectations. You got to buy them if you're talking expectations.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and switch things up a little bit. All right, I'm going to go ahead. Ready? We're going to go ahead and sell the Raptors. I mean, I do agree with you. I think they have some talent, but I think losing Kawhi, you still have Lowry to be the veteran leader on the team, but I think Siakam and however you say his name, they're good, but I think they're a little raw. And I think this is a team that if they can develop around those guys, keep Kyle Lowry as the veteran to kind of lead them, and I think in the next couple years we could see them be good. But I think for now, I think it's a little too soon to go ahead and buy them as a contender.
Yeah, I think keeping Marc Gasol is also a big part of that. Also.
That is a big part.
That buys into my buying for sure.
All right, next team, my hometown team, San Antonio Spurs. They're 3-1. They did lose last night to the Clippers. Unfortunate, but it was a close game against a Clippers team that we know is very good. So how are we feeling on them?
You know, I'm going to sell. I think the Spurs have looked great. They got some early wins going. But typically, I heard this on a podcast. Typically, home teams are actually +3 in games just over the course of a regular season, and the Spurs, they open their season with 3 straight home victories. I think this team, when you look at the talent they have, there are limitations, and I think ultimately they're going to be a 7 or 8 seed type of team, but compared to their expectations, I would say they're definitely not going to overperform myself.
Now, Robert, I'm going to disagree with you. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and buy this team. And is this a little hometown bias? Maybe. But DeJounte White, I combined DeJounte Murray, Derek White, those two guys. DeJounte White, those two guys, they're the future of the NBA.
Ooh,
I know a lot of people aren't going to say that. But
I
look,
won't. I certainly won't. I won't.
Look, that's what people said about Kawhi Leonard. Who's this guy? Who's this Manu Ginobili? Who's this Tony Parker? Who are they? Some of the best players, obviously Tim Duncan was like, some of the best players in the NBA. Why? Because the San Antonio Spurs have an incredible front office and they know how to develop guys. This team is for real. They're going to be a contender this year.
Break the tie. Break the tie.
Going against it, we're selling. We're
Yes,
selling,
yes.
selling the Spurs. I'm not selling the organization of the Spurs. I'm selling this roster. I don't own the Spurs. I can't sell them. But I'm selling this roster. I think you just brought up some math. So, Robert, real quick, can you tell me what's worth more, 3 points or 2 points?
That's 3 points.
That's 3 points, right? And what can the Spurs not do? Shoot three-pointers.
Fundamentals, baby. Fundamentals.
In a very tough Western Conference where the NBA is being revolutionized around the three-pointer.
Thank you,
the
Daryl
Spurs
Morey.
cannot shoot three-pointers very well. And so I'm selling them as a fringe playoff team. I don't think they make the playoffs this year.
I can't wait to sell this team up next. The Dallas Mavericks, your hometown team, Turner. Right. I can kind of figure what you're going to do with them.
Buying them. Give me the buy. Two-hand buying. Buy these Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis, Luka Doncic, and the bench mob. The bench went crazy. This team is for real. Buying this team as a fringe playoff team, okay? Not going to get my expectations too high. I'm not saying they're winning the finals this year, but the Mavericks are making the playoffs this year behind the superstar tandem of Kristaps Porzingis, Luka Doncic. Both of them are in the top 20 in scoring in the NBA right now. No other team can claim that, having two scorers in the top 20. Yeah. Something like 20 or 15, something like that. They're really high. They're both really good.
They're up there.
That's all that matters. They're both really good, and you got a great supporting cast.
Like, well, the Mavericks are so European, I think you can probably pay for their concessions with euros. I'm going to buy them too. I'm going to buy them too, and I think that's a great thing. I think it's awesome, and I think they have it. What I think with Luka Doncic, those guys are going to rally around them. I think they're a fringe playoff team too. I think they're going to be very exciting, and whoever's that 1 or 2 seed, it's better watch out.
Here's what I'll say. I think we are set to bring back the Spurs-Mavericks rivalry over the next couple of years.
Playoff team,
But for this year, I'm going to sell them. I think honestly we could see them as a 7 or 8 seed, but I think anywhere past that is just a little unrealistic. But I do think, I mean, you talk about those two guys for the Mavericks. You talk about White and Murray, and even guys like Brent Forbes for the Spurs over the next couple of years as they develop. I think we're going to see the Rockets drop off over the next couple years in Texas. We're going to see the Mavericks and Spurs kind of come back up and bring back that rivalry, which we haven't seen in a little while.
One more thing about the Mavericks. Just recently, the city of Dallas changed the street name to Nowitzki Way. That's a sign.
Not changing my pick.
What is the Nowitzki Way? Making the playoffs. Buying the Mavs.
I don't think that adds any win shares.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Add any win shares.
But that's creative.
That's nice.
All right, last team, Miami Heat.
Ooh.
They got J-Butt.
Yes, they do.
That's about it. But a good start for the Heat. They're a good start. They're off to a hot start in the East, an East that I don't want to say is wide open, but you look at the Nets not having Kevin Durant likely this whole season. He said he's going to be out the whole season. You look at the Bucks who have Giannis, but you know there's some problems at depth there. The Raptors, obviously, we said they have some talent, but they're raw. So all of a sudden, the Heat kind of trying to put themselves in this conversation.
Yeah. I'm buying the Heat.
Wow.
And again, based on expectations, I'm buying this Heat team as definitely a playoff team. Second round exit maybe, not necessarily the conference finals, but coming into the season, I don't think many people thought the Heat were going to be good. But you got Jimmy Butler, who's just playmaker, scorer. Bam Adebayo. So that one I can't do.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
All right.
You're coming at it with the names.
Bam Adebayo, he's a really solid big man. And then you have a early Rookie of the Year contender coming out of nowhere, Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
Where did this guy come from? Who is this guy?
Kentucky.
He might win the Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
Where is Kentucky? I don't even know. But
North.
Right, somewhere
North.
over there. Somewhere over there. But yeah, I buy this Heat team as a second round playoff team.
Turner, we've been getting along so well, man. I hate to do this.
Oh no, Sal.
Yeah.
I think that Tyler Hero, he's had some great early games. I think eventually that the rawness of the team is just going to catch up to him. I think the Heat are a great team, and they have some pieces there going. But next year will be a big year for them. But
You still have Eric
not this year.
Spoelstra, though.
See, here's you listed off a number of superlatives for Jimmy Butler. You forgot the part, the superlative that is locker room destroyer.
Ooh.
This guy destroys
Fair
teams.
point.
Selling them. Keep that
I'll
graphic
concede
up.
that one. I'll
Selling the Heat. Turner, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Robert and I still have all sorts of picks, plus John Kelly coming on for your spread predictions for college football.
Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Thomas still getting
ready.
He's still getting ready. From
That's
the locker
okay.
room. Well, locker room is pretty intense.
Yeah. Going from the locker room to here is a lot.
All
It's
right.
a lot.
Speaking of locker rooms, let's get to Pitt's locker room. This is the best thing.
Best thing on Twitter this week. This is pretty good.
Yeah, you see.
This
the
was a
way
late
you put it.
edition.
Yeah, this is.
We
late.
had to have a little Halloween spirit for y'all, even though it is November 1st.
Yes, these videos don't get old. I'm gonna be real.
They don't.
Pitt locker room. You can roll it real quick.
Yeah, let's go ahead and watch this.
Let's roll the footage. Pitt doing this thing where you dress up a guy.
Yep.
And you stand there like it's a model, which I don't know why they have the models out there like that. It's pretty funny, but I mean,
I think it's just for this.
Yes, I think exactly. And this is where the coaches want to test.
The late reaction there gets me.
Yeah, you want to see the reaction times of your players.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what it's all about.
like, look at that quick reaction, and like that guy is definitely.
This guy's he was ready to swing.
man, yes.
That's a guy
Yes.
you want on your own line.
That's the guy you want also to punch a helmet. So that's my favorite thing about football. Is when you punch that very.
You punched the helmet.
But
This might be the best.
This is the best one.
He falls
That's the
down. He
best
just
one.
jumps and falls down. Too good.
That's electric.
Thanks to Pitt Athletics for good content there. All right, let's get to fantasy football. Start sit week 4. Robert, who you starting?
I got my start sit this time.
Let's
baby.
go.
I got my start sit. I am going to say eat the W on this one. Probably the worst speech of all time, trying to get people hyped up. But Jameis Winston, start him. I just feel something good about Jameis this week. He's not going to be good this year in general with the stats, but I think just this week, just start him this time if you got somebody on a bye.
All right, my start for this week is going to be Le'Veon Bell. He's had some good games, some bad games. He's a great PPR option just because he catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. But they're playing the Dolphins this week. If you're playing the Dolphins, you got to go ahead and start people. Go ahead, start Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go with the matchups. That's my sit-em. I say any Giant this week, besides Saquon, you sit them. The Cowboys, I think their defense is going to play very well on Monday night. I think they're going to keep them limited. If you have Saquon, obviously, keep him in your lineup. But every other Giant, I would say it's useless to even start.
Yeah, as much as I like to trash the Cowboys, I actually have them have their defense starting this week because of that matchup. My sit is going to be Lamar Jackson. I know he's been electric all season, but they're going up against an incredible Patriots defense, an incredible head coach in Bill Belichick. There's just so much good. The scheme on the Patriots is so good this season. I know the Patriots are saying we haven't seen anything like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson hasn't seen anything like the Patriots defense. Because of that, if you have a somewhat reliable backup quarterback, go ahead and start him instead of Lamar Jackson.
All right, that's some good advice. I might have to take you up on that.
All right.
Jackson, my start.
All right, it's that time. That time of the show.
It's that time.
Let's go to the board. Let's make some predictions. And Robert, I remind you of this every week, but my number 1 has stayed the same every week this year. Alabama. I know they're without Tua, but look what they did. Without Tua, they put up 48 or 41 points and a half against Arkansas.
That's fair.
They're legit.
That's fair. I think the boos are unwarranted. I have Ohio State number 1 still. I think the quality of opponents they've played, they've made quick work of Wisconsin. That's a huge deal for them.
I agree with you. Ohio State's going number 2. They impressed me as well against.
I think we're having
Wisconsin.
some just semantic arguments because we got them both right here where we want them. We'll see. They'll reveal themselves.
Now LSU has the most quality wins of any team on this list. They're going in at number 3. I thought their win against Auburn was good, but not great. But I still think the key is obviously next week against Alabama.
Yep. I still have Clemson. You can say what you want about them, but they're still winning.
They have a
And
great
you
defense.
You can laugh all you want, but they have a great defense.
They have a great
offensive
defense.
Talent, and they
Yeah,
play in the
and
ACC.
that's why they're number 4 for me.
And for me, I'm going to make one of the most controversial picks, I think, in the history of the show.
This is crazy.
I'm going to put Oklahoma University.
You've had some bad picks, but they lost.
Number 4.
They
did
lost.
lose.
Where's undefeated LSU?
This is not a ranking system. This is a projection of where I think the teams will be at the end of the year, the teams that will make the playoffs. I think Oklahoma wins out. They're not going to lose again.
They don't have the strength of schedule. I don't think they have this.
I think they're going to make it in. Number 4.
That's
Oklahoma.
fair.
You can book it.
All right, coming up next, John Kelly is going to join us. All your college football and Sunday Night Football spread predictions. Stick around.
Welcome for the last time back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Last time today, not last time ever. We'll have more shows. We welcome in John Kelly to make some college football predictions. We're going to get right into it. But before that, let's remind you of last week's results. Thomas went 5-5,
yeah,
which is
a little
fine.
bit.
Vegas beats you if you go 5-5, but not bad. But when you compare it to me at 2-8, I mean,
back-to-back weeks of 2-8 for you, Robert.
Back-to-back weeks, and now I'm
not
down by
great.
7 games. So this week I have to make it up. I'm going to be making some predictions against Thomas.
Against me.
I got to go all out to try to get back in this one.
And John, what you're competing with, Adam last week went 5-5, which is a little better than what Christine went 3-7, and Zach went 2-8 the week before that.
No one has yet to top James.
James at 8-2. That's pretty good.
We'll see if you can get that. I want to see a 10-0, and I believe that you can do that.
This is the week.
This is the week. Let's get right into the first pick. Clemson, 47.5-point favorite.
Big spread. FCS Wofford.
Zion Williamson's hometown team. Who do y'all got?
I'm going to take Clemson on this.
Wow.
There's really too good a team.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can't be beat.
So I do agree. I'm not. When I pick Wofford, I'm not saying Wofford's going to win this game. What I do think, again, what we've been saying is Clemson has a good defense. Trevor Lawrence has struggled. I think that this is going to be a big game for him to get some confidence from. But I think it's a game where they go up big. They give Trevor Lawrence some rest. They give the starters some rest. They're up big in the third quarter. They pull everybody from the fourth. So I think you take Wofford with the points.
Yeah, when I think of Wofford, I don't really necessarily think of air raid offense. I think their clock will probably bleed down. I'm going to go Clemson here. 48 is a lot.
All right, Big 12 matchup, Oklahoma State, 3-point favorite at home against TCU. Who are y'all going with?
I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs. In the past couple of years, they've been underrated. They've been underrated this year, but they put up that great win against Texas. And I think they'll be able to pull it off against Oklahoma State.
I love Oklahoma State, and I'm going to take them on this one. I like what the Cowboys have been showing me. I think TCU is going to have a little bit of a letdown after last week.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a big game coming from, an emotional win against Texas, and then you have to go into Stillwater. I think because of that, take Oklahoma State -3.
We're still picking some FCS games. North
Let's
Dakota
go.
State, number 1 in the country,
The Bison.
are 18-point favorites against Youngstown State.
The Penguins.
The Fighting Penguins.
Fighting Bo
I think.
Pellinis.
Yeah, something like that. Who do y'all got?
North Dakota State. I always got to go with the Dakotas.
Good pick. Good pick. Bison are going to win big.
All right, I got to get back into this one. I'm going to go Youngstown State. I believe in Youngstown State, whatever they stand for.
Believe in Bo
18
Pelini.
points. I think they can keep this one closer. Something like that.
All right, number 22, Kansas State taking on Kansas. Kansas State, 6-point favorite on the road.
Kansas State, I mean, they put up that great win against Oklahoma last week. And, Kansas did almost beat Texas. It's going to be close, but I'm going to say Kansas State.
Sorry about
Bless you, Thomas, and bless the Kansas Jayhawks this week. But bless their hearts, because they almost beat Texas, and they did beat Texas Tech. I think the media is giving them too much credit. People are giving them too much credit in their betting. I think this is an easy pick. Kansas State, -6.
I think Kansas is better than you're giving them credit for. Carter Stanley has played some pretty good football the last couple weeks. But you look at what they did, the way that they were able to be in the game against Tech, the way that they were able to be in the game against Texas is by missed tackles. What does Kansas State not do? How did they beat Oklahoma? They tackle. They swarm you. They get on those one-on-one situations. They wrap up. Because of that, Kansas State -6.
All right. Notre Dame, number 16 in the country, 17.5-point favorites versus Virginia
Big
Tech.
spread.
Who do you have?
I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, Virginia Tech had that thriller against UNC a couple weeks ago. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to give Notre Dame the win.
Notre Dame is a good team. I think they win this 17.5, just too much.
Yes, I got Notre Dame, actually. I disagree. I'm going to take
Wow.
Notre Dame with the points. I think they're going to beat Virginia Tech.
All right, number 7, Oregon. Maybe with the Oklahoma loss, has a shot at the college football playoff. Their one loss to Auburn, close game at the beginning of the season. They travel to Washington. They're 3-point favorites. Sorry, Utah travels to Washington. Oregon is at home against USC, 4.5-point favorites.
I'm going to take Oregon on this one. I like the Ducks.
Yeah, USC is a good team, but I'm also going to have to go with Oregon.
Same here. Oregon, Justin Herbert knows what to do to win. Oregon gets the win, and I think they win pretty big.
All right, that Utah game you were talking
Yeah,
about.
there's the Utah game.
At Washington, they're 3-point favorites. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Washington on this one.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, this is you know, I just said Oregon has a chance at the college football playoff. Utah still does if they win out. The key for them is to win big. If they can do that, I think it helps their resume, and I think they do get the big win on the road.
I think I'm with John on this one. I'm going to take Washington. I like Utah, but I think Washington's kind of got it going right now.
All right, number 8, Georgia. They are 6.5-point favorites against number 6, Florida. It's the classic Florida-Georgia line game. Who are y'all going with?
I'm going to have to go with Florida on this one. I'm just going to take them straight up. I like what they've been doing.
I'm going to go with Georgia.
I have been selling on Florida all year long, and we're going to keep that going. I got Georgia. Actually, yeah, I think Georgia wins big here.
All right, let's do the game day game. Memphis versus SMU. Memphis coming in as 6-point favorites. Who do y'all have?
The Southern Methodist University.
You know, I think SMU. I think they win it, but Memphis. I think they're gonna. Or sorry, Memphis. It's Memphis 6.5. Yeah, I think you take SMU with the points.
No, SMU is finally going to get exposed. I said they were not the second best team in Texas. They are because Texas is below them.
You're crazy, but that's for another show.
That's a different show. I'm taking Memphis 6 points right here.
All right, Sunday night football game. Patriots, Ravens. Patriots 3-point favorites. Who y'all got?
I can't go against my Ravens. Ravens. It's going to be a close game. The Patriots are a really good team, but I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens can pull it out.
Well, I can go against your Ravens, and I'm going to. I like the Patriots. They're rolling, and this spread at 3 points.
Yeah.
The Patriots have been dominating everybody. I'm going to take the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going against the Ravens. Patriots. I think they win by much more than 3. I think it's. Yeah. I wouldn't say blowout, but I think it's a big win.
I think as an AFC fan, you have to learn to pick against your team when they're playing the Patriots. It's just a fact of life.
It's a fact of life. Well, John, thanks for joining us, and thank you for tuning in on your Friday morning. For all of us in studio and master control, I'm Robert.
You are Robert.
I'm not Robert Trevino. That guy's Robert Trevino. I'm Thomas Fitch. You go ahead and have a good weekend.